Welcome into the fifth and final edition of BOA Banter as the Edmonton Oilers.
Final for now.
Final for now, until the Flames and Oilers meet again during the regular season, perhaps in the playoffs. If the Flames make it back into the playoffs, we'll see. You never know. So the Oilers beat the Flames 4-1 in the Battle of Alberta. What happened in Game 5 in Calgary was the Flames went up 2-0. The Oilers battled back, and then the two teams exchanged 4 goals within a matter of 1 minute and 11 seconds, which was an NHL record by 22 seconds. And then with a few minutes left to go in the third, Blake Coleman scores what looks like it's going to be the game-winning goal for the Flames to extend the series. But that goal was disallowed because of a kicking motion. The game goes into overtime, and Connor McDavid has his moment. The Oilers move on to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2006, and the Oilers are now 5-1 all-time in the Battle of Alberta in the playoffs. We have Printzy from FlamesNation here. We have Wanye from OilersNation. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that series?
Printzy, you go first.
Why do I have to go first?
Well, I don't know. Respect.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it for sure. Honestly, today it's like any Flames fan today. It's not a great feeling. I think the feeling would be a lot different if that was Game 7 and that stuff happened. Kind of maybe delaying the inevitable because the Flames put themselves in that hole prior to Game 5. Like I said, if that was Game 7 and we lost today, I don't know if you would have been able to get a hold of me today. So luckily enough, I'm here. Not a great feeling. It's not a great feeling to lose to your provincial rivals like that. Obviously the Flames have a very talented roster, just had a lot of guys that didn't show up. Have some contracts they have to address in the offseason and some other things that they have to address in the offseason. So it'll pass. We'll get into the no goal eventually here, but everything will pass. Best of luck to the Oilers in the next round. All I can say is go Avalanche.
Damn, Printzy, that's cool. Well, I don't even this feels to me like a fever dream, right? Like last night I sat down and damn, they're gonna win this for sure, meaning the Flames. And I'm like, there's no way these guys are going to roll over. They're going to come out and they're going to beat on us. And I thought it was a great game. This is
yeah, so did I.
In terms of an entertaining playoff series, this is up there in the top ones ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was with Frank this morning, Frank Saravelli at Daily Faceoff, and he said the same thing. He's like, it was short, but it was everything was crammed into 5 games. He kind of used a weird analogy. He was like, it's kind of like somebody that lived an incredibly full life and experienced everything, but they just passed away at 60.
Yeah, fair enough.
Pretty dark.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's not wrong.
When I saw that video last night of Connor coming down the gangplank and jumping up and down with Devon Shore, I couldn't believe my eyes. I honestly shook my head and looked like the narrative of this team, which for so long has been under a dark cloud. Yeah. And we're just the bitch of the league, right? And Oilers fans are hilarious in our sincerity. We don't care, right? We'll entertain ourselves online. We don't need actual wins, right? And to think of where the team was as recently as December, right? Where we were 10 points out of a playoff spot, 8 points, Kunzi, what were we?
Something like that. The Oilers went into a terrible stretch where in December, January, they won 2 of 13 games.
Right.
And there was also part of that stretch was, I think, because the 2 games they did win in that stretch, Dave Tippett was on the COVID injured list. Right. So he didn't have a win for 13 games. The Oilers fell out of the playoff spot. And we had people talking genuinely about should the Oilers sell at the trade deadline and recoup assets for next year. And then Jay Woodcroft comes in, completely turns the ship around. Underlying numbers change. They rip into the playoffs. And then also come to think, they almost lost their first round series to the Kings. They were down 3-2.
Signing Evander Kane, which was so divisive amongst the fan base and shit, and then he just delivers on such an epic scale. Leon Draisaitl playing with the high ankle sprain and destroying records. It's just very compelling hockey.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So we're going to get into our talking points here. Before I get to the kick, which is going to be the big thing to talk about, another thing that kept coming up in this series was both the Flames players, their media, lots of Flames fans saying the Oilers are a one-man team. But then what winds up happening is Nugent Hopkins scores 6 points. Evander Kane scores 5 goals. Zach Hyman scores 6 goals. Zach Hyman had more goals in that series than he did in his entire playoff career as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Damn, Zach Hyman.
And Leon Draisaitl sets an NHL all-time record with 17 points in the series in 5 games. Meanwhile, McDavid, of course, does 12 points, which seems which seems kind of limp dick compared to Draisaitl, hilariously enough. So did the Oilers prove they're more than a one-man team, or is this still Connor McDavid dragging a group, kicking and screaming through a playoff round?
For me, I will say, I'm going to take a bit of a weird answer. I'm going to say yes and no. I still think a lot of those players like rely on McDavid for the setups, the speed, the zone entries, that kind of stuff. If you take McDavid out of the equation, are they the same team? Are they going to get that points spread around the roster? Maybe that answer is yes, because those guys look good. So I can't sit here and say no either, right? So I'm going both ways. I'm saying if you pull McDavid out of the lineup, it's probably a different story. However, Hyman showed it. Kane showed it. Obviously, Draisaitl showed it. Nuge showed it to a degree. I think people are giving Nuge a little bit more credit than he deserves for just having one good game, in my opinion. Hell, so yeah, I'll go both ways. I will go both ways. I think if you pull him out of the lineup, maybe these guys that play with him don't succeed as much. However, the writing's on the wall. It happened, right? Guys like Hyman, guys like Kane, they scored. They won games. So you can't sit there and say one guy won the series, one guy won the game. I know the Flames fans got caught up in that. Hard not to. So it is what it is. So that's me going both ways, if that makes sense.
Bonnie, what do you think? Are the Oilers a one-man team? What do you think about Connor McDavid's performance?
I feel it like if we remove the best player in the world from his team, would the team be as good? No, right? Not even remotely as good. Does he make good players great and okay players good? Yeah, right. I think his performances are like singular. You couldn't underestimate his value to the team. Are we a one-man team? No, right? It wasn't as though he scored 99% of the goals, but I don't think any team with a Connor McDavid on it could be a balanced squad when you have somebody that insanely good.
Yeah. No, you could say the same thing about potentially. Sorry, your next potential opponent. Pull Nathan McKinnon out of the lineup for Colorado Avalanche, and what have you got? Same thing. They still have quality, good players that can score, but are they going to be as dominant without Nathan McKinnon?
It's definitely an interesting thing. Like you came into this Battle of Alberta, and what we all thought was where the Flames had the advantage is the superior depth, and that didn't really shine through. So now we got to get to the big topic here. Speaking of depth, Blake Coleman, good depth player, good playoff performer, back-to-back Stanley Cup winner with the Lightning, scores what looks like it's going to be a super clutch goal for the Flames to probably win that game and shove it to Game 6 in Edmonton. But it turns out that he kicked the puck into the net. So Wanya, I'm going to let you start this time because Printzy's always been starting. What are your thoughts on that goal? Do you think the Flames, like objectively speaking, Oilers fans love that it happened. We all saw the cheering, but objectively speaking, do you think Flames fans have a gripe? Do you think they deserve to feel like they got robbed?
Yes, I think they totally got robbed. We lost in 2017. We got robbed by the refs in Anaheim.
Right.
Unfair shit.
Kessler.
Right? Kessler. Oh. But did you guys get robbed there too? Yeah, man, that's ridiculous. If I was a Flames fan, I'd be going nuts, especially with the series on the line. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was talking about Cam about this earlier. It sucks. Like, it's not a good feeling at all. It's all that's on social media right now. If that was Game 7 and that happened, Wes McCauley, man, like, oh my God, he would have to get number one escorted out of Calgary immediately, like straight from the Saddle Dome right to the airport and out. But it wasn't. It was Game 5. So what it would have done is it would have prolonged the series to Game 6, and that's another game that the Flames had to do or die in, right? So it's not the end of the world. However, it just sucks, man. And the reason that I say it sucks so much is because we had a lot of people on Twitter and some of our own guys at FlamesNation were sending out videos of this year and previous years and goals that have counted on a kicking motion, and some of them are so fucking bad that have counted. There's one that Mike Gold from FlamesNation put out that's Nate Thompson literally kicking it in, like literally moving his foot, kicking it like a soccer goal, and it counts. So the inconsistency in the NHL has always been a problem, whether that's goaltender interference, whether that's kicking motion, whatever you want to call it, it's a problem. And that was a problem last night. And, it's not just Flames fans that are sitting here crying and complaining. There's media members and there's higher ups in the NHL right now that are tweeting out, that's a joke. That's garbage, man. So I don't know. Maybe old Gary is pissed off about the new rink or something like that, or he wants McDavid in the finals. I don't know what it is, man. But at the end of the day, you can't sit here and cry about it because it wasn't Game 7. It was
Yeah,
Game 5.
It's so funny to hear that the conspiracy theories of the NHL tilt in our favor. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Because like if you sit back and you're Gary Bettman and like you're not even paying attention, and there's a regular season game between Columbus and Tampa Bay, and there's a bad call with 3 minutes left. You're like, Gary fucking Bettman wants the TV deal to be like, what the fuck? What are everybody mad about right now?
Yeah, I personally I can't really wrap my head around how this would be the league conspiring against Calgary, because if anything, you'd think the league would want to extend a series like this to 7 games.
Yeah.
For your TV deal, for your sponsors. And also just because think about the last 2 years, right? No fans in the seats, significant revenue drop off for the NHL. Long playoff series this year with fans back is a great way for them to recoup that money. So they're not gonna do this to force McDavid through and end the Battle of Alberta in 5 games. Like, that's insane.
No, I agree. It's just a bad call, man. Just a bad call. That's it. That's all it is.
So what now is next for the Calgary Flames? Can we look forward to another Battle of Alberta in the playoffs next year, or are the Flames ready to fall off a cliff? Because they have an interesting offseason ahead. Johnny Gaudreau is a free agent. And if that's his last game as a Flame, that's not exactly how you'd want to go out.
No, not at all. And, Johnny, there was a couple contributing factors on the overtime goal for the Oilers. Like, Hannafin just threw an absolute muffin up the wall. Like, I've seen better rims than in beer league than that. And Johnny just skates right by it. So Johnny's lasting impression, if that's his last shift as a Flame, it's skating out of the zone and not getting the puck. So I can't tell you if there's going to be another Battle Alberta in the playoffs next year, because the Flames roster is just so in question right now. There's so many dominoes that have to fall in order for them to recoup their roster or rebuild their roster. I'm not saying a full rebuild. They have to change pieces. If you lose Johnny Gaudreau, it's not like you just have that, whatever it is, almost $7 million to spend, because they've got other players that they need to pay. So if you lose Johnny Gaudreau, a portion of that money is going to go to Matthew Tkachuk. It's going to go to Mangiapane. It's going to go to Oliver Shillington. Maybe, who knows? He had a rough playoff, in my opinion. So it's going to be a lot. This offseason is going to be tough to follow along. It's going to be exciting at the same time. For us at FlamesNation, it's going to give us a lot to talk about. If you ask me today, what my gut feeling is, to be perfectly honest, I don't have a good feeling that Johnny Gaudreau is going to be back in Calgary, just based off of, I wouldn't call this a colossal disappointment loss in the playoffs, but it's disappointing. I felt like Gaudreau had a really good series against Dallas. He clearly won the game for us in Game 7, but I don't feel like he had a particularly great series against the Oilers either. So does he want to go test that out somewhere else? Do the Flames want to bring somebody else? I don't know. So it's gonna be a wild couple weeks here, a couple weeks for you guys, I guess, up in Edmonton, but for us, it's just gonna be the debate. And the nice thing is, we've been debating this for so long that it's gonna finally be over and we can move on, and whether it's with him or without him.
Want to give us a prediction? Is Johnny Gaudreau sticking around, or is he?
I would be shocked if he didn't, man. Like,
really
self-identify. Well, I don't know enough about the specifics because I don't follow the Flames, but like, self-identify as the franchise man. Like, what do you want to go start again in a new city? Like, I don't know. If I was somebody out of his magnitude to the Calgary Flames, I'd try to go wire to wire as a Flame.
Right, and that's kind of the weird thing about this too, is he's gonna want, max money, max term, or whatever like that. And the teams that can offer that to him are like Philly, New Jersey, Seattle, maybe like Anaheim. Like
what's happening in New Jersey or Seattle that you fucking can't get at home, or you're a god? Like, what the fuck, Johnny?
Like, the Flames ran into a buzzsaw in Edmonton. Like, if, I'm not sitting here making excuses for anything like that, but you got an $850 save percentage in Jacob Markstrom. That's not what it was in the regular season. If you got the full Jacob Markstrom, that ain't happening.
That is a crazy stat to look at. It's that low. Like, that is mind-boggling.
That he got out-dueled by.
He was the number 3 goalie in that series, because even the 7 minutes we saw of Koskinen was better than Marks.
I know. So it's
just shutout hockey.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that.
No one is talking. It's one of those things where anything can go either way. You get goaltending, you get a little bit more scoring. If you don't get what you got from Draisaitl or McDavid, then it's looking different. But that's the game of hockey, and that's why we're here. No need to sit here and complain and cry about stuff that didn't happen.
So
Now, Printzy, what percentage of you is Flames fan and what percentage of you is hockey fan at large?
Probably 60-40. Maybe that might shift a little bit because if anybody follows Flames Nation knows that I pretty much joined right about a month before playoffs. So I haven't really gotten a full season of Flames hockey, and I've been doing a lot of other stuff in the hockey world. Now, if you're going to ask me if that relates to the Edmonton Oilers in terms of the company that employs us and treats us very well, and what we were talking about off air about how much I'm actually loved in that Oilers Nation locker room. Yeah, a little bit of me wants them to succeed just to see our company succeed. But at the end of the day, I'm not, there's no way I'm cheering for the Edmonton Oilers.
Do you want to continue to do these banters post Oilers games and you take the opposition side? Do you want to?
It's something that we'll reveal to the fans that has been given a lot of praise at head office as what we're doing, and we are probably going to sit down in the off season and figure out an option to continue doing this during the regular season.
Do you want to talk to us next series?
I wouldn't mind. Not every single game, no, but I wouldn't mind hopping in. Well, it's tough.
You're good to have on here because you.
I know.
The thing is, when you get Oilers fans talking about the Oilers, we get so embedded in ourselves and our narratives. It's nice having an outside, and you're not a Flames fan who really leans towards just like hating the Oilers. You don't like the Oilers, but you don't despise them, right?
Like I look at you more fans. Like hockey personality at large, like beyond the Flames. Right. I don't want to stop doing the BOA banters when the BOA ends because I feel like next series, what do we have? Nothing to say, Coop? What the fuck? Right?
Yeah, we got lots to talk about.
But I'm like, I don't want to talk to a St. Louis fan or a Colorado fan. Like, can't we just talk to Printzy more? He seems to know what's up.
We'll just pretend that Printzy's an Avs fan or something. We'll be like, his
Poland.
Childhood team was the Avs. He liked Alex Tanguay.
Well, to be perfectly honest, with the Colorado Avalanche, I used to work in Alberta, the Brooks Bandits of the Alberta Junior Hockey League. I used to work for that organization. Yeah, and I was there with Cale Makar when he was a 17-year-old.
Perfect.
The year before he got drafted for Colorado. So
you're an Avs fan now.
Yeah,
we've decided.
Yeah, so I follow a lot of Avalanche games. I like the style that they play. I like the team that they've built. They've been through a couple tough series in the past where they couldn't get by who was Dallas in the bubble, and they couldn't get by Vegas. And, I think that this might be Colorado's year. So I will be paying attention. Now, we're talking about Colorado. This is still a series that's in 6 games, right? Like St. Louis is no slouch either. Now, am I praying that it's Colorado? Yes, because I think the Oilers absolutely whack St. Louis, in my opinion. They
don't you want to keep coming on these shows and tell everybody how shitty the Oilers are? We'll let you. That's fine. You can be anybody but the Oilers, and we'll be the Oilers fans.
I'll be like super quiet for like games 1 and 2, and then Mike Smith will throw a donut up the middle and overtime, and then I'll be texting like, "Get me on."
You're the biggest St. Louis Blues expert in the world in 48 hours. Well, you have an open door, buddy. For seriously, every post game, the ones you want to come on, Coombs. Right. I think we got to keep doing them.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've got a good thing going on here. So we should now go and talk about what do we want out of the Colorado St. Louis series. Do we want the path of least resistance for the Oilers objectively as the Blues, who are a good team, but they're not the Avalanche, right? Like, and I think from an entertainment standpoint, what you'd like to see if you're a hockey fan is the Oilers in Colorado, because then you get, McDavid and McKinnon. McKinnon also seems to be on a mission. He scored that absurd goal. It was a hat trick goal in Game 5, and then Colorado went and blew it immediately after that, hilariously enough. And Tyler Bozak, of all people, scores the overtime winner. So Colorado's still up 3-2. We might get the Avs. We might get the Blues. Are we confident the Oilers can beat both of those teams? Do we think they can beat the Avs? What do we think about
that? For me, with the Avalanche, I'm going to say no. With the St. Louis Blues, I will say yes. Do I think they're going to just roll over against the Avalanche? No, I don't. And this is kind of sad to say almost. I felt like maybe it's just because the way that the series went. You didn't get the crowd from Calgary. I felt like the crowd in Calgary was a little disappointing. Game 1 was awesome. Game 2, it just kind of went downhill from there. Excuse me. If you watch any of these Colorado series, that crowd in Colorado is nuts. And we experienced it in 2019. It is very overwhelming, and it's only getting better. Their radio broadcast team, their television team, they're the biggest homers in the league. You're going to get it from their fans. They're a tough team. And Cam and I talked about this before. Another knock on the Flames that a lot of people were talking about is they came out hard in Game 1 and they were hitting everything that moved. And you saw Lucic just take a complete run at McDavid. And then what? Nothing. There was no other significant hits, no bodies, nothing like that throughout the series. Watching Colorado, it doesn't matter who it is. Those guys finish their checks. Gabriel Landeskog finishes his checks. You got Kadri. You got the big Russian Nikushkin. You've got some big bodies on defense. So I think the Oilers might run into a little bit of trouble in terms of the physical game. And they also have an elite goaltender as well, too. So, no, I'm not pro Colorado, but I like their team.
Wanya, what do you think? Are the Oilers going to beat the Avs? You comfortable?
I think they could beat either team. They'd have a much simpler time of it against St. Louis, right? But I don't know, man. I think they were a team of destiny. I just feel as though there's so many storylines, and Connor McDavid leading the charge and Leon Draisaitl performing at the level that he is. This is a tough one. They're beating all-time NHL records here, kids. Right?
They did have a good season too against Colorado. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I think
They played the Avs
won.
3 times, all of which were later in the year. So the first meeting was right after the trade deadline. The Oilers got edged out 3-2 in overtime. The next one after that, the Oilers got edged out 2-1 again. And then their final meeting in late April was a 6-3 win for the Oilers. So it was a very tight season series between the two teams.
Right.
Yeah, I think they can beat either team. I feel as though they have a 1 in 4 chance of winning the Stanley Cup coup. Like, what the flying fuck are we even talking about? If you're not getting on the bandwagon and making confident statements now, when will you?
The other interesting thing to watch is in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes own a 3-2 series lead over the New York Rangers. And there is a possibility, it's out there in the universe, that we have a 2006 Stanley Cup final rematch.
Can you imagine the bookends of the decade of darkness
God.
plus 5 as we go back against the Hurricanes in the Cup final?
Oh,
Fuck.
I don't think either of those teams is going to get through Tampa Bay.
I don't think so either. I think
think
it's
so
it's either Colorado or Edmonton versus Tampa Bay. I'm actually weirdly confident the Oilers can beat the Avs. I don't know if it's because I'm just riding high right now, but what I see with Colorado is a run and gun team that the Oilers can match up against, and I don't think Darcy Kemper's looked very good in the playoffs at all.
Right. I mean, we could be talking about all this right now. Sorry to cut you off there, Wanya, but we could be talking about this all right now, and then Game 6 is tonight, and then the Avalanche just absolutely
totally written the
steamroll St. Louis, and then you're like, shit.
This is what we've wanted. This is what we've wanted our whole lives, man. Like, this is all the years, especially up here, Printzy. You haven't had the generational embarrassment that we've had to sit through 24 hours a day, right? Like,
so I got like little breaks here and there. Like, we had a drought, but then we made the playoffs and went on a little small run, and then we made the playoffs again a couple years. But you guys just like straight from 06 to 16, absolutely nothing.
And we just get sold a bill of goods every year by management, right?
Yeah.
And the New just had 8 coaches, right? And no
God.
free agents will sign here. It's just a disaster, right?
Yeah,
but then
Destiny
dealt us Connor and Leon, right? And you can build outward from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wouldn't be throwing the vault at Evander Kane if I was the Oilers with term and shit. I read today somewhere that they're saying Holland's ready to give term. Like, I think a lot of people, like you just said, Printzy, are going to want to play in Edmonton, especially after this run. And you don't need to sign guys to long-term deals necessarily.
Yeah, no, you're going to get guys like obviously the obvious examples of Evander Kane. I mean, different situation. His options were quite limited, but I think people will see that as Evander Kane was a 30 goal scorer for how many different years, and now he's just thriving in Edmonton. Like, at the end of the day, I my background from Mississippi Curfew, I have an inside knowledge of what these guys do in the league. Is you're gonna have to suck it up and live in Edmonton if you want to have success, right? Like, go play in San Jose. Great, the weather's awesome, cool. They no longer have a crowd anymore. Go play.
Sorry to interrupt you, Printzy. Even in the course of a season, you're on the road half the year.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Like, basically, you're in Edmonton 4.5 months of 12.
Yeah.
Right. And you can stay in the ice district in the palatial tower and grab your fucking latte en route. And you don't even need to be outside in the -30 weather. Not only that, you play a game called ice hockey, motherfucker. Right. This isn't beach volleyball. Like, this is a Nordic sport. So get where the cold is. Fuck.
Oh man, I experienced Edmonton like for the first time, like it's in a long time, where it was the ice district where I was at Joey's and Chop, and then I was at Cactus Club one night, and I went on a world tour, and it's not what people think, where it's just like, it's Edmonton. Like, it's nice.
It's fun, right? Yeah, man.
Like, these guys,
cool.
and like, they get treated probably really, really well by the fans. I mean, obviously, if you're
I would argue they probably don't by and large get treated very well, because like Brett Kulak could be filling up at a gas station and 8 different people would recognize him on sight. And chances are 6 of them are pissed at him for something, and 2 of them will tell him. Like it's singular, right? But like in the course of your life as a pro athlete and beyond retired, do you want what you do to matter, or do you want to have a job? Exactly. If you want to have a job, go play in fucking Florida or go play in LA where you can't even get into the good clubs. If you want your shit to matter, go to a crazy market where they live and die with this shit and deliver. We had Luke Gazdick on Real Life podcast once.
Oh yeah, what a beauty.
Oh yeah, we're talking to him about Oilers fans being harsh as fuck because we're very toxic, right? But it's because we've had such terrible hockey for so long, right? With no real plan. That makes most people crazy. But Gazdick's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oilers fans love me. All you have to do is score on your first shot, your first shift, and you're a legend, right?
No look back at it. I've heard the same about Patrick Maroon when he played there. Has like guys would go up to him in the grocery store and be like, "You don't need to buy that. You actually need to lose weight."
Really?
Yeah, you said that on podcast before.
Yeah. Big rig.
Brutal. That's just brutal. But the thing is like when you put up with all that playing in Edmonton, it's a big fish in a small pond market. There's always attention on you, but then you end up in this situation and you've won the Battle of Alberta and you're going on a playoff run and the energy is just like something else. I don't know if there's many, if any, markets in hockey that can provide the same energy that Oilers fans do, because it is a city full of people who care so deeply about the hockey team and his passion is so extreme. And the focus entirely now, like even in Toronto, for example, if the Leafs go on a run, there's so many other things going on that can distract people. There's the Jays, there's the Raptors, there's X, Y, and Z. But in Edmonton, it's a singular focus on the hockey team, and that energy is something that players are going to ride. And that's why I'm pretty confident that the Oilers can get through Colorado. I don't think the Abs have the same, like you said, the Pepsi Coliseum is a great vibe, and I'm sure you're right, but I just don't think that the Avs have that same energy pushing them that the Oilers do. It's like, it sounds corny, but the fans are like the sixth guy on the ice.
Yeah, no, I said it. I didn't get it. We didn't get it in Calgary. We got it for one game. That was it.
Edmonton was the fan base that definitely showed up more for the Battle of Alberta, I would say.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I was there. I witnessed it.
Well, that was a fucking blast, guys.
All right, Printzy, come back whenever you want.
I will. Yeah.
After the rest of the games next morning.
We'll continue ripping against Colorado and Colorado or St. Louis. I almost said Colorado and or St. Louis. It doesn't make any sense. We'll be back. Printzy will be back. He'll be an Avs fan all of a sudden. I'll continue to be an impartial non-fan, and Wanya will continue to be an Oilers fan.
Yeah, you just like super eloquently broke down why Oilers fans are the reason that the Oilers won, and then you end with, and I'm impartial. Okay.
Impartial. I'm objective. I'm a host.
Sure.
You're hiding it well.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, Printzy. Thanks, Coom.
Best wishes.